Is what happens when labour is induced?
Okay, so let's think about why labour might be induced to begin with. Most commonly, labour is induced because you're edging towards 42 weeks of pregnancy, and current research suggests that perhaps it's not a great idea to go beyond 42 weeks of pregnancy unless that's something that you really want. So usually your NHS midwife will start having discussions with you when you reach, well, they'll make a plan with you really about what happens if you reach your due date and you don't go into labour.
Yeah.
Not that it has to be executed to the letter, of course, it's always flexible and negotiable between both of you.
Yeah.
But it is, most women like having a plan because they like to know what the next step is and how long the pregnancy might be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
So in its simplest form, induction of labour would be a sweep. So where we try to separate the fetal membranes from the cervix and release some of your own hormones, oxytocin. And often that works. You might need it done once or more than once, but that's the most straightforward, natural form of induction.
Yeah.
Harmless in almost all cases, but wouldn't do it, for example, if the head wasn't in the pelvis. That would be a silly thing to do. Or if you had placental previa, we definitely wouldn't do that. But you'd be having a C-section then.
Yeah.
So then if that doesn't work and you are 41 plus weeks, you will probably be given a date for an induction, what we would call a medical induction of labour.
You don't have to have it because they wanted to do that with me, and I really didn't, because I wanted to give birth in a birthing centre.
Yes.
I believe that as soon as you have to be induced, you have to go to the labour ward. You can't do it in the birthing centre, is that?
Well, I think some birthing centres vary.
Okay.
Some of them will allow you to have the hormones that are inserted up around your cervix.
Okay.
The Propess, well, it's like a tea bag or a tampon.
Okay.
And you can have that and you can go home, and I
Okay.
believe you can come back into the birthing centre. But in fact, if you need to have the intravenous drip, which can be a little bit more painful and therefore a reason why women will more readily opt for an epidural, yes, then you're heading for the main labour ward.
Yeah.
So if you, like you, if you wanted to go to the birthing centre, you probably are better to put it off as long as you and your caregivers feel comfortable to do that.
I think for me it was, I was 41 weeks and there was no sign that I was going to be going into labour, and I had a sweep. And they said to me, if this doesn't work, we want to induce you. And I said, look, I don't want to be induced. I think the baby's just not ready to come out. I don't think it's a problem. I just think it's not ready to come out. And I know in France that 42 weeks is actually quite normal for women to continue, but different countries have different ideas around these things. So I was unhappy with that. And they said to me, well, what we would need to do then is you would need to come in, I think they said every day, for us to make sure that the placenta is holding up.
That's right.
And that the nutrients and oxygen is still going through the umbilical cord.
Of course, yes.
So that there are options, is what I'm. But they weren't very happy about that. And I had to be quite strong.
Yes.
And I think that some women, if they're unsure, then maybe they'll just be led. Whereas that may not actually be what they want to do.
Yes, that's right.
But there are options.
Well, I mean, as you did your reading and you went in armed with the information.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because that gives you the confidence to say, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Do we really have to go down this route now, today? So you're exactly right. Some extra monitoring might be implemented.
Yeah.
Because typically the fluid level, the amniotic fluid around your baby can reduce once you go over your due dates, and it can happen overnight sometimes.
And they want to be safe. You
They
understand
do.
why they do it.
Because your baby's, fully developed, usually nice and big, and it can be nursed in a cart, breastfed at that stage.
Yeah.
But of course, going into labour naturally is always going to be the slightly better, easier option as a rule. But yes, you could have the hormone placed up around your cervix. ripen it, so it does that pre-labour phase that we talked about before. And then once that may trigger your body to actually take over the process, and it will labour by itself. So you may only need that the hormone around the cervix for 12 or 24 hours. And thereafter, off you go, which will be great. And you can go into the birth centre. Some women, though, need more than one of those hormones inserted around the cervix. And then some women indeed need to go on and have a drip to encourage, to make contractions start. And at some point, then your waters can be broken, because that accelerates or speeds up the process as well. So there are options, and it's really hard to say what will happen in what order and how long it will take for any given woman. But it is true to say that it's usually a slightly longer process, so you need to be prepared for that.